everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here, and Natalie's here with me as well.
Hello.
And we're doing this again. It's the return of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters March Madness Marathon Mayhem. I'm going to add like a new word each time.
Oh my god.
So we have done Duelist Kingdom, we've done Domino City, and we've done Battle City Part 1. Today we will be doing Battle City Part 2. We'll be discussing our thoughts and opinions over everything that happened in this section of Battle City. The duels, the characters that are introduced, the breakdown of the plot, our thoughts and feelings. So, are you ready to hop into this, Natalie?
Oh, hell yeah.
Then it's time to... I'm stuck.
Oh my god.
It just hits me in the head.
Don't.
But okay, so we start off Battle City Part 2. Kaiba, being the egotistical maniac he is, decides to have a blimp labeled Kaiba Corp to travel up into the troposphere. Yes, that area that has almost no air in it. It's just full of storm clouds and crap. He's in that section and takes all 8 of the finalists. Now, these finalists include Yugi, Bakura, Joey, Odeon, Mai, Namu, Kaiba, and Shizu. What do you think of these 8 finalists?
I like them because this is like my favorite arc. But it is interesting that up to this point, like Shizu, you don't really know how well she can duel, and kind of the same with Odeon. So, got some surprises in there. It's a good mix.
Yeah, I want to say this is a good mix of like 2 subplots coming together really well, because the subplot of all of this is a tournament. Kaiba's sort of like the in between on all of this, but the tournament duel, you can tell who's the tournament duelists who are just here for the tournament purposes and who's here for the bigger overarching Egyptian plot. Obviously, Namu is Merrick, we know that, but they don't know that. Odeon is the most mysterious one, and I think this is our first introduction to him for real, isn't it?
Yeah, he's just kind of on the sidelines otherwise.
Yeah, so this is the first time, and he's mostly silent for the most part. He's definitely one of the more interesting characters in the in the game, but he's not revealed as Odeon. He actually has the alias Merrick. So he's the one that's Merrick right now. Everyone thinks he's Merrick. So they have an enemy to point to. But obviously he's just a pawn in the bigger cycle of things. Shizu has connections with Odeon and Merrick as well too. So it's cool to see that Shizu isn't just, hey, I'm going to tell you about this danger and I'm going to lead you to it. She's deciding to take matters into her own hands. What do you think about that?
I like it, because it's kind of nice to have, it would have been really easy to shaft her to the sidelines, so...
Yeah, she could have easily just been a one-off, like, I'm here to foretell you about danger. She could have easily been another Shotty.
Yeah,
but they decided to put her into the action. And yeah, so we're dealing with Shizu, Odeon, and Merrick, aka Merrick and Namu. And they're clearly the Egyptian characters in the plot. So it doesn't feel so disconnected like it did in Duelist Kingdom. In Duelist Kingdom, we only had Yugi and Bakura for real. And then once Yugi beats Bakura, that's the end we see of him, at least until like Pegasus is defeated. Where here we get some obvious characters that are more involved into the Egyptian plot alongside of Yugi, and Yugi is clearly the one that has to go off against that. And then we've got the tournament wielders. We got Kaiba, who's there literally just to get his hands on the cards and beat Yugi. And then we've got Joey. He's there to support Yugi in a way, but at the same time, he is a contestant in the tournament. I guess they just wanted to put a character in the mix, and Mai was the only one that hadn't been used prior.
Yeah.
Which, that's fine, because what did you think of Mai being in the tournament?
I liked it because
Yeah.
I'm down for any chance for her to show her skill.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
if
always
she actually gets to, that's a different question.
Yeah, she always makes it into the finals, but if we're going on screen wins to losses, she looks kind of terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like her track record is awful. She's lost
Right.
every major duel she's been in, with the exception of what's his name, Valentine or whatever.
Oh yeah.
No, not
Jean
Valentine.
whatever.
The movie star
Magnum.
guy. Magnum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously we have Bakura, which, oh boy. I feel like they just sort of like were going at the scraping the bottom of the barrel with characters with him, but at the same time, I do welcome the fact that Bakura is showing up again in the plot.
Mhm.
What did you think of Bakura?
Well, yeah, I like that he comes back because I'm always down for more villains, especially because Bakura always has like his own secret plan.
Yeah.
But he does come in very last minute because in Domino City, like he's in the hospital because of Merrick's plan, and then in just that duel with Bones, he's like, "Oh, got all my shit in one duel.
Right.
Here I am."
It's just
like,
sort of
okay.
it's just sort of
Why not?
a Russian job. It's like I've got to get to the tournament, but he's in Yami form, and it's so weird because like Pegasus is no longer evil when he loses his Millennium Eye and everything, and loses against Yugi, and a lot of Millennium wielders, well, for the most part, mostly. In Pegasus' case, he was no longer evil. But Bakura, for some reason, once they beat Bakura, he just winds up being evil again. Even when they chucked the Millennium Ring, it just sort of found a way back to Bakura again.
Yeah.
It's like this thing is in love with Bakura for some reason.
Yeah, I think I don't know, I think it's because, like, the regular Bakura is, like, lonely or something, so he's like, oh, I want this ring, even though I know it's bad.
Right.
Like, the poor boy.
Or I've always figured it as, like, the Egyptians they only possess certain people, and it's usually the people who they find worthy to be the descendant of who they are. Like, it's no coincidence that Yami Yugi looks so much like little Yugi. Like, wouldn't that be some shit? And, so I've always thought of it like, okay, like if you solve the Millennium Puzzle, yeah, you solved it, but the Pharaoh won't possess you because you may not be worthy. At that point, it's just a relic. Yeah, but so that's my theory. But moving on, we go to the actual tournament. I do like the setting that they're given. The treatment that Kaiba gives him is actually pretty cool, even though he mostly cares about himself. The tournament starts off, and when we kick it off, the first duel to start is Yugi versus Bakura. What did you think of them kicking things off in the tournament?
I I think it's a good duel, but it's also interesting because Bakura loses, and so it's kind of like instantly like, yeah, we included him in the plot, but he's the first to go down.
He's the first I was just about to comment on that. It's like they rushed him into the finals only for him to be the first one to lose, and it's just like I feel like they put Bakura in here because they needed Yugi to have an enemy to fight off against before the fighting Kaiba and Merrick, because those are the only two other duelists he fights afterwards, and I feel like Bakura is just a placeholder in this one, unfortunately.
Yeah. Because it seems like the common thread is his plan usually takes a backseat to whatever villain's currently there.
That is true. Yeah, because this is we're talking a 300 episode plan in the making. So,
yeah.
Right. So Bakura was just sort of fodder to Yugi at this point. And we've already seen Yugi beat Bakura once, so it's just sort of a rinse, wash, repeat battle. I do know Bakura uses a special card in this one it's one of the few cards that has a win condition outside of depleting your opponent's life points to 0.
The Destiny board, right?
Yes, the Destiny board.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was an interesting concept, but I believe Yugi beats him before he has the chance to use it because he uses Slifer the Sky Dragon and Egyptian God
which is
cards.
cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's like Egyptian God cards are immune to trap cards, I believe, in this series. So that's a thing. And I what do you think of this? Because when Yugi summons Slifer, it's so over the top. The thing coils the blimp.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I'm like, it is cool. It's really cool. But at the back of my mind, I'm going, this is still a hologram, right?
Yeah, that's true. It just pops the blimp and they all go down.
Exactly. I'm just like, We do know this is a hologram, right? It's not supposed to be real, yet it's over here. It's got like breath, like when it breathes, the freaking
Yeah.
air comes out. It's coiling around the blimp. It looks so over the top, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love that this
Yeah.
is Yugi's first and his primary Egyptian god card.
Right. And I'll mention too, the other thing that makes me laugh about this duel is, whenever there's someone in trouble, whether it's Joey or whoever, they're like, "Oh, we have to save him. Like, he's our friend." But with Bakura, Yugi's just like, "Nah, I gotta kill him." And he
Yeah.
just does. I'm like, this poor guy.
Fuck him up, Yugi!
Because like, what is it? Merrick and Yami Bakura are like in regular Bakura, and they're like, "Oh, maybe if we like make him really like pitiful and weak, Yugi will stop and won't attack him." But no, Yugi's like, "I'm gonna do it anyways." Like,
Screw
sucks.
that.
Yeah. So I just think that's also very funny that Bakura's the one person they're like, we don't have to save him.
Right. So I always thought that was pretty interesting. The one thing I thought was interesting about that duel too is just like Bakura obviously I guess has improved since his since the last time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very noteworthy.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has the was it Dark Necro-Fear?
Yeah, he
the
does.
the creepy like dead baby thing.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not watching the dub, they'll edit it out. But
Right.
yeah.
But
yeah.
then other than that, is there anything else you wanted to comment on that one?
Not really. Just overall, I think it's kind of underwhelming because I would have preferred this duel be not the first one.
Right. Yeah, I kind
Yeah.
of don't like the fact that he just sort of had to get beat immediately,
Mhm.
especially considering how Kaiba handles the last four duelists and how they duel each other. So they're not going by bracket rules. So it didn't have to be the first. I guess. Yeah, I guess they did that so that I don't know we could just get an immediate straight to the point duel.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to use any plot relevant characters yet.
He's expendable.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, unfortunately, Bakura is the most expendable out of all of these
Yeah.
characters right now. He has the least to do with all of this.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got the next duel, and the next duel is Joey versus Odeon, aka Joey versus Merrick,
Quote unquote.
air quotes.
Yeah.
This duel, quite interesting for several reasons. So first of all, what did you think about this?
I mean, I like it because it's kind of funny because as a viewer, how you know that he's not Merrick and all the other characters are like trying to figure it out. So I think it's kind of funny. But,
Yeah.
and I like that we get like his childhood backstory during it. But like the actual duel itself, like it's okay.
Yeah,
But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say I believe a lot of weird stuff happens in this duel and a lot of technicalities. Like for example, I know in this duel, Merrick has, in air quotes, Merrick has the third Egyptian guy card, Winged Dragon of Ra, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the real Winged Dragon of Ra. It's a counterfeit one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's so ridiculous. So the real Winged Dragon of Ra is so pissed off by the fact that they used a fake one that it shocks both Joey and Odeon with lightning, knocking both of them out. So stupid.
Yeah.
And also, it's to note that like Joey wins this duel by getting up.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of the weird duels that isn't decided by the fact that anyone loses life points or loses cards. Joey just got up first.
Yeah. And it's literally like from the power of friendship. Like he has
Oh
a dream where his
God.
friends lift him up. And so he gets up.
It's like Odeon fainted. Odeon is unable to battle. Joey is the winner.
Pretty much.
Good job, Joey.
Yeah.
Joey.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's just so ridiculous. And obviously we learned that Merrick is not Merrick. He's actually going under the alias Merrick, and he is Odeon. So like he's using him as a tool, essentially as a pawn for Merrick. Merrick is using him in order to, I guess, flesh out the weaker opponents.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't.
like I'm kind of confused how that
Yeah.
would go. Like if Odeon won, like how far or even like what if Odeon and Merrick got matched up to duel? Like who's gonna lose?
Well, I guess, I guess,
So,
I guess the idea is like if there's more of me in the tournament, then I can't lose,
I guess.
right? Yeah, just I guess
Yeah.
Odeon was basically supposed to be contingency if Merrick fails. Maybe I don't know, but
Yeah.
he was. I think he was just a last minute like we have a last rare hunter, and he is more connected to the plot than we know because obviously Odeon and Ishizu are related. Yeah, they're actually all three of them are related. They're brothers and sisters.
Yep.
So, and I guess that we can reveal a lot here because this is where the Egyptian plot sort of opens up a lot. Odeon, Merrick, and Ishizu are all known as the I think they're the guardians of Atem, the guardians of Egypt.
Like tomb keepers. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the tomb keepers. Their job is strictly to keep the secrets of the pharaoh hidden throughout the remainder of time. They literally only exist so that Yugi's past can stay hidden. It's actually kind of stupid. But at the same time, it does bring a level of intrigue because they're just here in this modern day tournament. So because of that, though, they're usually treated a certain way. And when Odeon is revealed and things go haywire, Merrick starts to lose grip of himself.
Right.
And when he loses grip of himself because of Odeon revealing himself to be Odeon and not Merrick, Ishizu and them potentially almost losing their sibling in the process, the lighter side of Merrick begins to slip. And because he begins to slip, we get introduced to Yami Merrick.
Yay!
Yami Merrick, what are your thoughts? Because this is his debut, and oh my god, it's creepy as shit.
It is. I mean, I like him. Like, I hated him as a kid because he is creepy, but I don't know. He's very interesting because, like, I think when he first comes out, he's like, oh, like, that Merrick's like nothing compared to me. You're like, oh shit. Like the other Merrick was dropping shipping crates on
right,
people. What
I
are you
was
gonna
evil
do?
before. Now I'm super evil.
Like, damn.
And I stick my tongue out.
No one knows why.
He is the definition of creepy. Like, I will give it that. To this day, I feel like Yami Merrick is the most terrifying of the Yu-Gi-Oh villains. Like, he easily beats Darts. He beats all the other villains they had to deal with, even Bakura to an extent. He's just a creepy motherfucker. Like, and he's not above killing. Like, killing is definitely... Merrick would put things on the line that would die if they didn't go his way. This Merrick will kill in an instant. Like, he kills in a heartbeat. So, it's very creepy to see when Merrick turns into this Merrick. But it's satisfying, though. It does make the setting a lot darker because, you know, we're dealing with this Merrick. So yeah, and at this point we see that Ishizu is worried. We see that Odeon's unable to fight. He's just down for the count. Merrick could give no shits at this point. At least this Merrick doesn't. So yeah, and then Joey, he's still in the tournament, so that's good, I guess. I think this duel was mostly just to split open to raise the stakes of the already established plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we can connect to an enemy, a true enemy to a face. And Kaiba lets this go. He lets a lot go in this duel.
He does. He does not care.
Not only does he let the fact that Odeon used a counterfeit Winged Dragon of Ra on the field, he also lets it go that Odeon was using the name Merrick. And Kaiba's like, I didn't sign people up for this duel at the naming contest. Either they have the cards or they don't. I'm like, Kaiba, that makes no goddamn sense. If you sign up to a tournament as a false alias, then you should be DQ'd.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Kaiba letting the rules, screwing the rules, if I will, twice for this?
Oh my, it makes me laugh. Because it's like, I think, after, like, even Bakura's in the hospital, they're like, hey, can we, like, land to take him to a doctor? And Kaiba's like, no. So he does not give a shit about the safety of anyone in this tournament.
At this point, two people are completely unconscious, and Kaiba will not, like, the show must go on.
Yeah, he's like, we got a doctor on board. They'll be fine.
Right.
Like, okay.
Meanwhile, it's Dr. Mario.
Oh my god.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. Green, red pill or blue pill?
But yeah, because I'm pretty sure when they bring that up, I think in the show's universe, where they're like, hey, like, this Merrick dude is really, like, fucked up. Can you do something about it? He's like, nah, he has a god card, so I don't care.
Right, so all I care about...
I'm just gonna beat him.
Right, all I care about is getting Wing Dragon of Raw, so
Right.
I don't give a shit. I do like the idea, by the way, that we got to see a fake Wing... First of all, I like the idea that a counterfeit card exists.
Yeah.
Because I remember, and I will admit this as a kid, obviously getting the Egyptian God cards back then was hard. Nowadays, they're in any booster tin. But back then, they were actually a hard thing to get. So what I would do is, I remember there was this Yu-Gi-Oh magazine that they were giving out. There were just a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh magazines. They were kind of like Beckett, which was the old magazines for Dragon Ball Z and stuff. So we'd have Yu-Gi-Oh magazines, and one of them had the 3 Egyptian God cards printed on the magazine. They were just part of the page. I cut them out of the magazine page and taped them onto a regular Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Oh my god. You're gonna get struck by lightning.
Exactly, but the reason I did this was just so I could, like, as a kid, we would play, with the cards and stuff, and I was treating it like the Egyptian God card, like I had one. So it's so cool to see that they, in universe, decided they were going to make up a freaking Egyptian God card and do a counterfeit, but the casualties for doing a counterfeit are real.
Yeah.
And it's so over the top because it's like, you got to remind yourself, these 2 people almost died because a trading card got mad.
Yeah.
And that's hilarious to me. That's just really funny to me that they got struck by lightning because a trading card got pissed off.
Right.
But other than that, like, I just so much interesting stuff happens in this duel, and there's no real victor. Joey wins because he got up.
Yeah.
And I always found that funny. Which is especially funny considering Joey's next fight, but I won't get into that. At least not now. The next duel is My Valentine and the now evil Merrick. Well, super evil Merrick.
Super evil. New and improved evil.
Now with 30% more evil.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, God, this duel. What did you think of this one?
Well, Mai doesn't get to win again.
Oh, yeah,
so
she's a casualty.
Makes me sad, yeah. And she's pretty much just used as, like, motivation for Joey for the rest of the whole arc, so that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is an interesting duel because since it's, like, Yami Merrick's first duel, you get to see how he operates.
Yeah, he's not dueling, possessing someone's body now. This is him personally.
Right. So yeah, because that's the thing, like, Merrick always just went through other people, and Yami Merrick does not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a whole, like, mind torture thing.
And I believe each of Merrick's games had, like, a price to them. Like a major price.
This one's like if you lose a monster, you lose a memory of someone.
Yeah, oh god, yeah I do remember that. So yeah, what happens is, like, during this duel, as the duel continues, they keep losing memories. But the funny part is that when Mai makes Merrick lose a memory, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, because it's like Pandora or Arcana, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
I don't care.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Like, I killed that guy anyway, thanks.
Right. That's another load off my head.
Yeah.
Oh, so when you're evil as shit, you don't need to remember anything. So, I found that funny. I do. It's just so messed up to think that, but yeah, it is like an interesting take on the fact that, you can easily just have a villain who doesn't care this much. And when Mai was forgetting people, it was kind of messed up because she, like, forgot. I think, did she forget Joey at one point?
Yeah, Taya first, then Joey. Yeah.
Yeah, it got really bad at that point. And I believe this was also the moment where Mai found a way to take control of the Winged Dragon of Ra, but there was a catch.
There's always a catch.
It was so stupid too.
Yeah.
So check this out. Mai gets control of Wing Dragon of Ra. Unfortunately, Wing Dragon of Ra has to be extra as hell. So instead of just summoning it or taking control of it like normal monsters, it has a spear form, essentially an egg form. And the only way to let it out, and this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, the only way to let him out is to recite the words to summon it.
You're right.
What the fuck? What do you think about this card? Because this is the only card that does this.
Yeah, it annoys me because, like, honestly, like, okay, normal Merrick never won a duel, and I'm like, Yami Merrick would also not win anything if he didn't have all these, like, you got my card, but, you gotta know the secret password.
Yeah.
Like, you know, always pulling stuff out his ass so that way he can win. So I think it's cheap, but...
It is cheap.
I mean,
I do think it's very conditional. It's very messy. Also considering Merrick's next duel, but this one, if we're focused on this one for right now, this one's a very conditional, like, oh, Mai out-dueled me. I feel like the writers wrote themselves into a corner, I think is what happened.
Yeah.
I feel like the writers made Mai accidentally too powerful, and they did that because they needed someone to be a worthy opponent for Merrick. Because if they had made Mai just defaultly okay, and then she just lose to Merrick, he wouldn't have seemed as threatening. Here, they had to fix a situation and make it so Merrick is fighting a tough opponent, but they also had to remember that Merrick has to win. So they're like, oh, you can't summon Wing Dragon of Ra this way. You have to summon it some other dumbass way. And the funny part is that I believe Yugi and Kaiba are the only ones that can actually read the card as if it were written in English, but it's written in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Which I think is very interesting. But Kaiba freaks out because he's like, I can read this like it was written in English. So at that point, Kaiba never even questions it either. He just, like, he freaks out about it, but he's still like, Egyptian bullshit.
Yeah, he still denies it. Yeah. He's like, whatever.
And then she's just like, dude, are you fucking serious?
Oh my gosh.
Are you for real right now? But at this point, now Mai loses the duel because she's unable to summon the thing. The thing's essentially got 0 attack points and 0 defense. Merrick is able to hit Mai with everything. And her punishment is that she's in like a giant hourglass or some shit like that.
Yeah. Like the end of Aladdin.
Yeah. So she's just hidden deep inside an hourglass in her mind, by the way. So she's comatose, just like the other. So now we have 3 casualties, by the way. I just
3 out of 8.
Like, Kaiba, just land the fucking blimp, dude.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let these people...
He will never let it go.
Oh, God. So, at this point, it's clear Mai was just supposed to be, unfortunately, another casualty and a damsel in distress for Joey to keep going. So, what do you think of that unfortunate turn of events?
Oh, it sucks. Because it's like, I do like Mai, but, you know, watching her episodes, it's like, there's really, you know, it's hard to... Not hard to root for her. Like, it's easy to root for her.
Yeah. It almost
there's no
feels like,
reward.
Yeah, it almost feels like our character is going backward. Like, it's moving forward in terms of like how she treats other people, but she's moving backwards in terms of her level of importance as a duelist.
Right. And that's actually a good point with moving backwards, because after, you know, she starts out Duelist Kingdom like, oh, I don't need anyone, and then by the end she's like, oh, okay, no, these nerds are cool, I'll hang with them. Yeah. And then before her duel with Merrick, she gets pissed at Joey. She's like, I don't need friends. And that's why this happens again.
Yeah, so it is a backward. Yeah. Also in the sense of her dueling career. She starts off being this badass woman who beats Rex, and, you know, she's meant to be all of this. And then she starts trusting in people a little bit more thanks to Duelist Kingdom. She starts trusting in friends. And then by the time she trusts in friends, she ends up losing to Merrick. And then by the time she loses to Merrick, she's a damsel in distress. And it's like, what happened to you being this badass bitch from Duelist Kingdom? Now I need Joey as a knight in shining armor to help me.
The moral of the story, never have friends.
Right. It's just so backwards. It's like the show introduced her as being this strong, independent woman who don't need no man to, okay, we need to batter her down a bit and make her need Joey as a love interest. So now Joey's got to be the knight in shining armor now.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah, because that's pretty much his motivation the rest of the series.
because
Is,
Joey,
gotta save mine.
yeah,
So.
because Joey has no. They saved Serenity. I hate to say they saved Serenity too early, but saving Serenity
Could
meant.
you be blind a little bit longer?
Right, the saving Serenity gave Joey no incentive to keep really going, so they had to like
Yeah.
chuck Mai in his space, and it's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's so just upsetting to see where this character is
Yeah.
going, and
Yeah.
it doesn't stop either. That's the worst part. It still goes on, but we got to talk about it later. We can't talk about it right now. So, moving on from that, we finally get a legit Kaiba duel, because all the duels Kaiba's been in at this point have been like, oh, I gotta show off my dueling system, or oh, I gotta show some punk kid who was bullying my brother a thing or two about the rules of my tournament by one-shotting him with Obelisk. So now we finally have a duel that involves Kaiba just dueling, like him being a legitimate member of his own tournament, which he's against Ishizu. And what did you think of this duel? Because I believe Ishizu has a gimmick, and her gimmick is that she can see the future, which essentially means she's cheating.
Right.
Which means she can see all of Kaiba's moves before he makes them. So what did you think of that?
I mean, I thought it really, again, kind of makes it hard for the writers, because it's like, you know, if her powers aren't fake, which they're not, it's like, how are you supposed to beat someone who already knows what's going to happen? So the ending of it, where Kaiba manages to beat that, I think is kind of funky. Like, because what is it? I forget. How does he beat her? Because I know there's like some sort of bomb trap card thing. He like puts in a monster or something.
So from what I remember, Kaiba's two things happen. Kaiba's willpower, for some reason, is so strong now towards the end of the duel that Shizu just can't see Kaiba's future anymore. Like, it's just blocked off. It's so stupid.
Right.
Then, Kaiba plays, like, this bomb card. But the gimmick was that Kaiba was planning on using another card, but he wound up using the bomb card instead. And that ultimately beats Ishizu.
Okay, that's what it was. Is like the bomb was inside Obelisk, but then he's like, you know what? I think I should use Blue Eyes. So since he doesn't use Obelisk, nothing explodes.
Exactly.
And like Blue Eyes gets him to win. So.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like you have all the powers of a god, but still stick to your roots as a duelist.
Yeah.
Which, okay, fine, I'm sure, but I don't know. Out of all the duels, I hate to say it, this one's my least favorite.
Yeah, I don't really see it as that memorable or like interesting.
Well, why do you? Let's go into why you think it first, and then I'll go into my reason.
Well, mostly because it's like the whole setup of she can see the future, just for it to be like, well, she can see the future unless you're like really I don't know, because we decide that's not gonna work anymore.
The power of will, yeah.
Right, yeah. And then I don't know, but at least like the dialogue makes me laugh, because she's always like, hey, I'm trying to like save my brother, and Kaiba's like, I don't give a shit. So like Kaiba always makes me laugh from his not caring about anything Egypt. But
I feel like this was a very Kaiba ego-stroking duel, if that makes any sense. And not only that, but I'm glad Ishizu was introduced in here as a competitor in the tournament, but I feel like Ishizu was just a means to Kaiba's end.
Yeah.
Like, I'm put in the tournament.
No, you can go.
I was going to say, Shizu was like, I'm put into the tournament specifically so Kaiba can have someone to stomp.
Because, I think it's like, I guess now that you mention it, kind of like a haha moment. Because, of course, when Kaiba gets the God card from her, he's like, I'm not giving this back. And she's like, oh, yes, you will. And then here it is. He beats her. So it's like, bye, I'm keeping this. Yeah.
As I was saying, my God card.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, are they still taking other people's rare cards? Is that still a thing or no? I think by the time they hit this tournament, are they really doing it?
I think so.
I don't think anybody wants anybody's cards.
Well, yeah, because... Well, I do remember... Well, yeah, they do, because I know at the end, a certain duelist has 2 God cards against someone else. So... Yeah,
Oh yeah,
they
yeah,
must
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
anteing
Well,
up.
yeah. But that one's obvious. But the other ones, I think they're just
Yeah.
not doing it. But yeah. So by the time that happens, though, Ashizu to me just feels like, yeah, I'm glad she's in the tournament. I'm glad they utilized her. I'm glad she's not another shoddy. But she loses immediately, and it's mostly because Kaiba just has to be badass because he's Kaiba. So
Yeah.
this duel just seemed to me like they like. It's kind of like the Bakura situation, like how Bakura was just fodder for Yugi. Ashizu is just fodder for Kaiba. It was just so
Yeah.
Kaiba can get into the finals, and I kind of don't like that. I mean, yeah, I'm glad because, Kaiba needs to be in the tournament in an important way, especially considering his role later. But here, I don't know, it just feels like he was placed here as a means to an end.
Yeah.
And that bugs me. So, but yet Kaiba wins, so that's cool. I mean, if I could pull one thing out of this duel, I do like the fact that he does have Obelisk, but he still uses Blue Eyes as his end all be all. I'm glad they did that. They could have easily just been like, Obelisk, punch her face in. Like, didn't see that coming, did you? The ironic part is that she did see that coming. But yeah, so after that duel, I believe that's it as far as major tournament duels. I believe we have our finalists set now. I think the only thing left is to discuss like the after stuff, because I know there's one more duel that takes place after this, and it's between Bakura and Merrick. And why does this duel even take place? I forgot.
It's because, so throughout Battle City, Yami, Bakura, and Merrick teamed up. Because Merrick's like, I just want to beat Yugi. And Bakura's like, cool, if I help you beat Yugi, then you give me the Millennium Rod. And Merrick's like, cool, I don't give a shit. Right. So, after Yami Merrick comes, Merrick's like, hey, help me beat him so I can get my body, and then I'll give you the rod. And Bakura's like, fine. So that's pretty much what they do.
Yeah.
So
the idea, the idea is that good Merrick, his spirit is no longer in Yami Merrick. It leaves, and because of this, he teams up with Bakura, and it's like, if we work together, we can probably take Merrick down. And Merrick's like, fuck all that. I'm stronger than both y'alls.
Yeah.
And primarily this also happens due to the fact that the other cast is no longer here. And we'll get into more as to why they're not here later on. But just to note, these are the events that take place. Now, does Merrick interact with evil Merrick? Does he interact with the Shizu at any point during this, or is it later?
I know that, I don't know if he interacts with her usually when Mai and Merrick are dueling, he's usually shooting her glances because she's like, you need to stop being a jackass, and he's like, I don't care.
Square up.
So usually they're just kind of glaring at each other or whatever, but
I believe
nothing too serious.
Oh, and I believe Ashizu also goes into Odion's room for the most part of this tournament to protect him, because America's like, well, he's no use to me anymore, so I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah, he almost stabs him, I think, twice, but he just never follows through.
He takes the Millennium Rod out, and hidden in the Millennium Rod is like a needle, like a knife.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to go stab Odion, and Ashizu's like, nah, fam, and stays in the room with him just to protect him.
Yeah.
So
then that's
so that's what happens for the most part. A lot of interesting plot points and a lot of interesting storytelling now that we've watered down all the way to the 8 duelists and then later to the remaining 4. What did you think of the Battle City of the Battle City Octi finals, we'll call it?
I like it because there is a lot going on. Usually, I mean, God, I can't even count the subplots, but just Yugi trying to win, Kaiba wants God cards, and Merrick has his plan, and then the other Merrick over here. There's just so much going on where it's at least I'm interested.
There's a lot of tension on this blimp.
Yeah, between different people,
Yeah, and you've got your weakest subplot, which is Mai, unfortunately, and her, I want to win because I want to win. And then Joey's all like, I want to help Yugi, but now I got to help Mai. Like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
I think that was just sort of to give the incentive that Merrick is the bad guy, which we knew that already, but they needed to raise those stakes.
Yeah, even though Merrick's like the ultimate kind of villain for this arc, I feel it's more like Yugi and Kaiba have their little rivalry, and then Joey sets his sights on Merrick. So it's kind of like two things going at once, which is interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of things here are show that the stakes have become really high, whereas people's lives were in danger when they were dueling in Battle City, but people are straight up on the edge of death. Once we get on the blimp, and I'm just like, part of me's thinking, oh, it can't just
death
be
blimp.
the death blimp, right? You're right. The Hendon death.
Oh my god.
But it's just like, I want to say it's not just because Merrick is fucking with people is why they're almost dying. It's because they're in the freaking air where there's little to no oxygen. Right. Kaiba, land the damn blimp.
Yeah. I think, isn't that Joey versus Odeon, where Joey like almost loses his cards because they like almost blow out of his hand?
Yes,
like, that would be a serious problem up there.
Exactly. Yeah, so, it's just like I lost because my freaking red eyes black dragon is flying in the abyss right now.
Right.
Oh, good. I do love the fact, and I just want to comment on Joey versus Odeon's duel again. I do love the fact that Joey uses a lot of the cards he won in Battle City in this duel in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses Insect Queen. I believe he uses Grand Fisherman. Yeah, so Jinzo.
Yeah, and Jinzo.
Yeah. So he's using a lot of a lot of cards from former opponents in this one. That's pretty cool. I'm glad to see that he's advancing as a duelist and customizing his deck. I like that. Yugi, not much to really say about him. He does what he's kind of signed his contract to do, which is win. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's just winning. And that's it. It's weird. Out of all of these characters, Yugi, ironically, outside of Ishizu and Bakura, he's like the third least interesting character in this whole plot. Unfortunately. Right. At least until it's time for him to, do his thing. But as of now, it's just like he's just sort of watching a lot of the events take place. He's not really taking any major action yet because he already did his part. He beat Bakura. So there's just, I don't know, there's just a lot happening at that point where, the plot is thickening, though. That's good. But, unfortunately, and this is one of the weird animes to do it, the plot has to take a bit of a back seat for now because something happens that causes everything to just sort of fall flat on itself. And let's just say a certain corporation led by a blue-haired stepchild is responsible for all of this. And with that being said, I believe we are done with the events here. Did you have any closing thoughts for the Acne finals of the Battle City tournament?
Closing thoughts is just, I really like it. Lots of backstory, lots of plot, lots of tension. So I'm good. I'll watch it anytime.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool to watch. I like the atmosphere. I love how, because they're so high in the air, the troposphere is usually the spot in the air where mostly storm clouds take place. That's why it's always like dark and cloudy up there sometimes. I love that that gives the ambiance for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see that. So, that's one of the things I do like. It definitely, atmosphere was what they were going for here, and I think they nailed it. But we move on, and when we move on to the next arc, aka arc, pun intended, because the next one is Noah's Ark. Oh my god. It sounds so weird actually saying it out loud, but yes. Right. Noah's Ark is next. Not the book, not the story. Noah's Ark, which deals with, yet again, the appearance of the Big Five. But this time, I think we're going to dive a little bit more into that plot. So, with that being said, thank you so much, Natalie, for joining me yet again for another one of our sessions.
Yeah, thank you.
And the next time we get into this, we will get into the Noah Saga, the Noah Arc, whatever you want to call it. It's time to Drew, YouTube, Twitter, and you have a Tumblr. Follow Natalie on all 3 of these social media websites, and they will be in the link in the description as we continue forward with our marathon. With that said, we'll see you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3 out.